Yeah, 2014, Phillip Island. Remember this one? It's funny how you remember the races that you either win or that you didn't quite win. And this is of the latter. And we were in trouble with fuel from when we left pit lane after the last fueling stop. And literally ran out of fuel with 100 metres to go. So we knew actually the 30 odd laps that we didn't have enough fuel in the tank. So they told me to save fuel, save fuel, save fuel the whole stint. And I was surprised that we got as far as we did in the race. I thought we were going to run out of fuel with 2 laps to go. So probably makes it even a bit more bittersweet.
So final turn now, car number 2, Garth Tander. Bathurst champion of years gone by. Oh, he's in trouble, he's run out of fuel! He's run out of fuel! You cannot, I'm setting up!
I think it's still frustrating, but I reckon if that was right at the very beginning of my career, it would be even more galling because, you know, you had a race win that was just there and then it went away. But given that I'd had a few by that stage, it was one that got away. You have a lot of those in your career, it's just another one of those.
Scott McLaughlin has won this race! Scott McLaughlin and
Oh my God! Crazy.
I was setting up to talk about a victory for Tander, and so were they, and all of a sudden it coughed.
I think I had enough to cough and splutter back into the lane, but I don't remember whether someone pushed me back or not. Maybe JC pushed me back. I'm not sure, I can't remember. But we got to the podium, I remember that. It was just not the top step of the podium.
This is 2005 Sandown, the Sandown 500. And actually, it was interesting because Better Electrical actually sponsored the event at that time. We were running Better Electrical in the car. Scaife had front splitter issues, from memory. And so this was the closing stages of the race. So this is 3 laps towards the end where it was wet. And we managed to not only catch but pass him, get good drive off the last corner, and we went on to win the race. And my teammate was Ivan Muller, and he was a wet specialist, so it actually was really, like that whole weekend just fell in our laps. It really worked well.
No silly moves just yet.
And it's greasy on the inside. Craig looked at it and then thought, whoop, I'm not going down there, so he just decided to pin his nose to the back of the Commodore.
Well, we always talk about like it's easy to sort of somewhat catch the car in front, but it's trying to find a way past them. And even just this replay of the close shaves that we had through Dandenong, through that last couple of sections, and actually got it rotated really well off the last corner and got good drive. Scaife's getting a bit of wheel spin and just really struggling with his tyres as well as the damage on the front. And I remember driving down, we were side by side down the main straight, and I could actually hear the crowd. The grandstand at Sandown is amazing, but it was just one of those moments where you never forget it.
The road, side by side.
Lowndes gets it. Scaife doesn't want to yield, but he has to.
Well, in these conditions, you had to be really precise. And even coming through 2, 3 here right now, I was really mindful not to run that outside curb because it gets really slippery when the wet. But you've just got to be so precise. You've got to just feed it in nicely and just use every inch of the track just to get that traction right. It brings back great feelings because I've actually had an opportunity to drive that car since then. And it's a great memory of being going back in time. It's almost like a time warp backwards. But the crowd was sensational. Ivan Muller, as I said, he was I think 8 or 9 time ICE champion. So those conditions were absolutely perfect for both of us.
Triple Eight Racing, Roland Dane and all his team will celebrate. Craig Lowndes, Ivan Muller wins Sandown. The Better Electrical 500 is theirs.
That for us was a great victory, and I remember the team. It's Roland Dane. He was just over the moon because it was one of the sort of the breakthroughs for the team at that point to have a major achievement at an event like Sandown 500.
Doesn't look quite as convincing in the wet, the 17 car at the moment, does it?
It certainly doesn't, and he's under the pump with Reynolds.
So yeah, Sandown 500, I'm behind Scott McLaughlin, 2019 by the look of it. And yeah, it's sort of wet, maybe drying. I can't really remember much about it, but I remember lining him up for a pass, and it's, it might take a few laps to sort of get there. But I did it down the front straight and sent it down the inside and had like a really close shave of crashing into him, and yeah, drove on and made the spot. It was cool. Normally he's like, obviously a really good driver, has an exceptional car performance, and yeah, in the wet it sort of brings everyone down to your level, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. Obviously, when in the dry, you know, his car was very, very fast, but in the wet it sort of brings everyone down to your level a bit, and it really comes down to the tyre pressures. And if your car's probably not good in the dry, it probably means it's good in the wet. So you know, when it starts to rain a bit, I was able to move forward with my car and yeah, set up a pass and do it. Yeah, I suppose when it becomes wet, you have to be more precise and have to have more feel. So you know, the hardest thing to do, or the most scariest thing to do in the wet, is to have no feel, because you've got no idea where the tyre is or how much grip you got. So yeah, if your car's giving you good feedback, you can be quite precise with it, and it's quite a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, shootout in the wet, 2022 I think. Super wet lap. I think it was on provisional pole and it rained a little bit more. I'm going to claim it against Brody got pole, so I'll just tell him he got a little bit more wet for me and he got lucky.
So if he can manage to stitch something together in these conditions, that is dead set. Whoa! A magician at work, and he's run wide. He saved it. Oh.
It's a pretty big moment here because it was bucketing down, and I've had a big slide, lock a front. When you have a big slide and you lock a front from hitting the brake, it's you know you've had a decent one. But rest of the lap I think was pretty good. It's a wet shootout's very difficult because you have no pre-lap, you have no nothing, you're just guessing. So, but this car in particular was always really good at S&Ps, so funny enough, good in the dry and good in the wet here. I don't know what the magic was, but it was nice to drive.
What's it do for him in terms of his ultimate number? Oh, he's only missed out by 1/10 of a second, and those conditions were far worse.
Yeah, so the one they're showing here, Corporate Hill, I turned the wiper was up a fair bit, and lost the rear over the rise, which is here. Big slide on the way in, which is not fun, and then because I was so wide, I got a bit of pain on exit and got another slide onto the rev limiter, full opposite lock, which it looked cool, and we're still in the front row, so it was fine, and put on a bit of a show, I think, in the meantime.
That was a magnificent
Very good drive.
When you consider...
Good lap.
Yeah, they are all acknowledging it. Everybody up and down the pit lane knows what happened then.
Driving in the wet, you got to be pretty precise. You got to aim for, you got to know where the drier spots are, the wetter spots are, and precisely obviously hit that, know which curbs you can and can't hit. So yeah, it's a massive part of our job.
Oh no, he just lost a little bit of ground. He's run it wide, and this is a monster.
So I think we'd pitted not long before this, had a tyre advantage, and then past Cam, got squeezed, ran out of road and went flying.
Oh!
Yeah, I mean, we just passed at the hairpin, and I guess it's just a standard Simmons Plains move, and then you normally run around the outside of the kink there, and then you got the inside for the following corner and get the move done. When Cam was moving over, I guess when you're side by side with someone at that speed and turning, it takes a lot of front aero away from the car. I realised that it could get ugly pretty quick, but I was obviously hoping that it wouldn't, and then it did.
Oh no 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 no.
I thought about, well, what is the inside wall of the track, and then got a bit airborne and obviously hoped that it wouldn't go over, and it didn't. And then the next thing I thought about was, cars further up the track and collecting them. Fortunately, none of those things happened. Could have been a lot worse than what it was. We lived to fight another day.
That could have been a monstrous accident.
Exchanged a few messages in the week after. He had his view, I had my view, and I don't think we ever really agreed. But it's one of those things, you sort of get on with it.